Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Farkan, product designer and work in London. This video I want to do a bit of a deep dive into Dynamic Island on the iPhone 14 Pro after using it for a few weeks and give my thoughts of why a lot of it has been an overhyped feature, and let's dive a bit deeper into some iOS 16 design changes. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe for future design-related videos and let's get started. So when the Dynamic Island was first released, everyone was raving about how Apple have finally turned a hardware constraint and they've worked with designers to actually make this more of an immersive UI experience, and this is so amazing. But let's really dive deeper into understanding, like, is it as good as people were saying it? With thousands of tweets going around the web saying like, this is just beyond mind blown, this is amazing, like, is it really worth upgrading to a new phone just for this? Let's dive deeper really into this design. And a quick way to really demo this is, say if you're listening to music and then you go to your home page, and then you can see the music now at the status is right at the top that is playing. And I guess, is this somewhere that people have always been looking before when it comes to the UI and the user experience? And people have questioned the ergonomics of this. This is a place that you interact with. Being right at the top of a screen is really hard to use. But the reality is that, first of all, I feel like when it comes to changing music or the Dynamic Island, a lot of the content of the purposes it serves isn't really meant to be for places you interact with. It's more of a status bar, and they've had status bars before in a lot of UI, and now it's just really having this place right at the top that leverages the notch, and it's got a lot of hype for really what it is, you know, like there's been status bars in UIs for years, and now that fact it just expands a bit because of a darker background and the status bar, and it looks a bit more subtle, or it just plays a bit more, it's more playful, it's more joyful, it's got a lot of people talking. But when it comes to ergonomics, I wouldn't be concerned. Like the whole Dynamic Island, I barely interact or touch with it. I don't see why so many people are talking so much or like so happy about it. Like, this is so cool, it's a new UI element, this is a new place where people can design things, and there's going to be so much more open designs and apps. It's not like this, it's an extra place for notifications to nudge users, an extra prompt, but I think that's as far as it really goes. And when it comes to interactions, like, you're still primarily going to be interacting with the main ways. When it comes to music, maybe you're changing songs a lot on your lock screen all the time, or you're just going to go back to the music app, or you might just still be in the habit of using the top right of your screen to change things here. But like, it's an extra entry point, maybe two things, but in my opinion, like, it's not the prime place. And the ergonomic questions, I'd throw them out the window, as well as the places for this to be a brand new place to design for UI. I'd throw that out the window as well. It's just adapting on top of status bars. They're a bit more immersive now, and that's as far as I'll take it. So one of my favorite micro animations with the Dynamic Island is pretty little small things, like when you're on the call, that you can see this little sound graph when the person's talking. So whilst you're on the phone, you can kind of still move around and see what is going on, and it follows you around, which is pretty cool. And again, it's just more of a nice to have as a feature. But the thing is that once necessarily say, why do you have to wait to have a Dynamic Island to implement small little micro animations like this? Like, you could just still have this, say for example, on an older iPhone, like an iPhone 8 for example. But again, it is very nice and subtle, the little animations that you do have here that do change, and it's pretty cool. Other small things is, like, say for example I went to the Maps app and I wanted to get directions, and from here I can just go to the home page and it puts the next turn by turn direction in the status bar. Again, how obvious is this, and is this really the right way or right place for someone really to understand? Like, when I'm navigating, I'll probably open a map back up again, or you'll be able to access this on your lock screen with a lot bigger view, which is a lot easier and it's a lot nicer. But again, this is kind of unnecessary, to be honest, but it's more of a nice to have, and I'm like, I wouldn't just be upgrading or a phone just to see something like this. One of my biggest pet peeves with the Dynamic Island is if an app is using your location in the background, for example, a weather app, or like this Aura app that I use for like fitness tracking, is that you have this blue navigation icon on your screen constantly, and it just stands out quite a bit. You do get used to it, but I guess it's nice to know that something is using your location in the background, but it just persists there for hours and hours, and it always stays there. And the only way to remove this is just by trying to close the app and then stop it from running in the background, which basically stops it doing from some of the location based activities. But that can really be a big frustration. It's just having that blue icon just following you around your phone day-to-day use. You eventually get some like sort of banner blindness to it, but it is a bit of a frustration. A subtle animation that they have is the little face ID, which pops from the top and then goes to the bottom. It's cool, but again, I actually preferred it being in the middle of the screen. The fact that it adds this extra jump in animation, I feel like can be a bit distracting personally, but a lot of people, I suppose, have been raving about, oh, it's really nice that they've used the hardware constraint at the top of a status bar, but it makes some animations a bit more jarring and it makes them stand out a lot more as well. And something like Face ID isn't really necessary to have all of this animation going on. Personally, I prefer it in the middle of the screen. You just see that it works and then off you go. But again, these are just my personal thoughts. So I've mentioned those little nice interactions where it does make the overall experience a lot nicer. And remember, all these small things, they compound to a way better experience. When it comes to design, remember there's like all the small little things, like when an engine's trying to push you back on a small change, all of them will eventually add up to something bigger. And I think that's what Apple just do so well when it comes to their products. But I guess I was talking about other iOS 16 changes that I really liked. The biggest one for me was, to be honest, it was nice that when you actually want to go into email, you can have haptics now. I guess you can't really see this on a video, but having haptics on a keyboard was my favorite thing, and some of the lock screen changes. My favorite iOS 16 change was haptics on the keyboard as well as these lock screen changes. So the fact that you can have your background that can change, like pictures, I guess is a really nice touch, and it's all fully customizable. So when you hold down the bottom of your lock screen, you can press customize, and then from here you can change to have all these random photos for you to go through. And it's just a really nice touch. It changes once every hour, that it just makes it way more personal, and it just reminds you of like different memories and holidays that you've been on. So I really like this, and it's much more of a personal thing because it's my phone. I want to see like my personal pictures and stuff, so I really like the fact that they've added the fact that you can have different lock screens as well. And there is things like lock screen widgets, but I personally don't use them because I just want to have more of an immersive like photo experience. So we can see that there's a photo here of a cenote in Mexico, which is pretty cool. The always on lock screen display is nice as well, but it's the actual like photos that I really like. And I think there's been a massive push in iOS 16 for just heavy personalization, like the fact that you can change all the font styles, the font colors. I think is a really nice shift personally, and I think this is like putting like customization back into people's hands is very important, I feel, because I feel like this has been lacking in a lot of apps. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. Be sure to comment down below your thoughts on the dynamic island on the iPhone 14 Pro and the iOS 16 design changes. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for future design related videos, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace out.